the Unleash Success podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome back to Unleash Success. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, just go to unleashsuccess.com, enter your email so you can get all the tools and strategies sent directly to you each and every week. Today, we have the privilege of interviewing Brian Scudamore, who is the founder and CEO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, a company that he built over 10 years, but from 2003 to 2006 grew it from $12 million to $100 million in revenue. We'll get in a little bit to overcoming failure, as Brian is very familiar with that, almost losing $40 million and his business in the process, but how he came back and created even more success with his new company that is the parent company of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, O2E Brands, and finishing over with well over $300 million in revenue, and talking a little bit about his success journey. Brian, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, Corey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and always love talking about the adventures of entrepreneurship. So should be a fun podcast together.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was just going through your company. You spent the entire 90s really building this company before even hitting $1 million in revenue. And I wanted to know, what would be your biggest piece of advice for an entrepreneur starting out nowadays?
I think my biggest piece of advice is just remembering the quote. I don't know who said it, but that these overnight success stories sure take a long time. It took me 8 years to get my tiny little company to $1 million in revenue. And now on a given day, just 1-800-GOT-JUNK, one company of our portfolio of 4 under O2E Brands does $1 million in a day. So just remembering that these things take way longer than any entrepreneur ever hopes or dreams. I think a lot of younger entrepreneurs today think they're going to come up with the next $1 billion app and they're going to sell it off to Facebook. Life doesn't typically work that way for most of us. So yeah, just remembering it takes time and a lot longer than you'd expect, but we tend to build momentum with an idea the longer we stick with it.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, people don't realize it's like the tip of the iceberg, what's underneath that and all the work that went into it to really become successful.
Yeah, it's the momentum. We call it the flywheel momentum. It's been spinning faster with its own weight, propelling it. The more we learn, the more mistakes we make and reflect on those mistakes, the bigger and better the company gets, to the point that we were able to take 1-800-GOT-JUNK after 22 years of running that one business and saying, what is it about our model that we love to do? What are we best at, and how could we parlay that into a second brand? And we created Wow One Day Painting, where we go in and paint someone's home in a day. It's not a rush. There's no compromise on quality. It's just putting the right number of people into the home with a coordinated effort to get it done. And learning from our past and how to run a call center, how to find great franchise owners, how to build something bigger and better together, we've been able to do it again a second, a third, and now even a fourth time with our newest brand, Shack Shine.
That is incredible. Absolutely. Just how did you stay so motivated during those first 8 years where you really never hit that $1 million in revenue? You know, it's not as exciting as building $1 billion app, like you said. How do you stay motivated on the day-to-day basis?
Well, I think, I'm a very motivated person. I've always got high energy, and sometimes people make fun of me because it just never seems to stop. But I love what I do, and I think what kept the juices flowing and got me really excited was about 8 years into the business, I was struggling a bit. I was having an ADD moment of wondering whether or not this was the right business for me, a little bit of depression, where I was thinking, I'm comparing myself to others. There's other entrepreneurs surrounding me who've built bigger, sexier businesses than junk removal. And I retreated to my parents' summer cottage. They had this little cabin on the water. I sat down, I pulled out a sheet of paper, one page, double-sided. I created what I called my painted picture. I said, stop thinking of negativity. Stop thinking that I've just got this little $1 million business. Start thinking of pure possibility. What could the company look, feel, and act like at a point in the future? And I started to come up with big, bold things. I said we would be in the top 30 metros in North America, 30 because there were 30 cities bigger than Vancouver where we started. within North America. I thought if we could build in Vancouver, why couldn't we build out in all those markets that are bigger? I said we would be the FedEx of junk removal with clean, shiny trucks, friendly uniformed drivers, on-time service, upfront rates. And I even said we'd be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So I looked at our business and put it down in writing and came up with these big, hairy, audacious goals that eventually I took that vision, that painted picture, and started to realize, wow, I can see possibility here. I can see something that's worth building that I can see making happen. And what I did next was essentially took this painted picture and shared it with everybody in my company. And I had half the people said, you're smoking the hope dope here. This isn't ever going to happen. And the other half who said, wow, this is exciting. I want to be a part. And off we went to build it. So when you ask what keeps me motivated, what kept me motivated during all those years, it was having a vision for the future, not how we'd get there, but where the destination was, what it looked like. And we all worked hard to build something bigger and better together. And it's no different than today. We have visions of the future that are documented in writing, shared with everyone around us. And the fun part is working hard together to turn those visions into reality.
Absolutely. Visualization is so powerful. I use it all the time as well. And I like what you said there too about how it would look, how it would feel. Like you really visualize the exact kind of future you were trying to create. And that helps a lot. Also, about what you were saying about comparing yourself to others, that's really, really common nowadays as social media is just everybody sees the success or the square boxes of success on Instagram and stuff like that. And, comparison really can be the thief of joy. People kind of constantly compare to things like Zuckerberg, which, it's impossible to do that. So I really like what you said there. And, I was curious too about with your business, I noticed you decided to use a franchise model. What was your decision process for that? And, instead of keeping it all under the company and kind of franchising it out and growing it in that way, why'd you choose a franchise model?
As a kid, I'd always been a fan of what Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, had built. He took the McDonald's brothers model and said, I can build and scale this through a franchising model by having others have skin in the game, building something bigger and better together. And that became our philosophy and our approach. It wasn't that I wanted to get rich and create all this wealth. I wanted to help others create wealth. I wanted us to build something wealthy together where we were all learning, thriving, making mistakes and overcoming those hurdles together. And so I really just love the fact that franchising wasn't the Starbucks model where you have a corporate company that's gone public that raises all this money that then, and I'm a big fan of Starbucks, but the model was one where you hire all these managers and they come and go. I wanted people in it for the long term where we were going to build some lives together. And there's a great difference between making a living and making a life. And I wanted to help people make a great life. And running and owning a business, whether somebody buys into Shack Shine, windows, gutters, power washing, or our Wow One Day painting franchise, it doesn't matter what we're building. It's how we're building it together and that shared passion for the future that's really driving us all.
That's incredible. It's like they always say, if you, how do they say it? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so by building up everybody else, you're creating these entrepreneurs in your business. They are their own business owner. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, the beauty of a franchise model is this isn't Brian Scudamore's model. This is all of us as franchise owners taking what works and what doesn't work and doing a round of experiments and then saying, hey, we found a better way to do XYZ. Let's go implement that as a best practice or a new system within the business. So the whole system, the whole family for any one of our brands gets bigger and stronger the more we all work together.
Absolutely. When you were starting out with 1-800-GOT-JUNK, being a primarily mobile company, right, where you're driving to people's places, and as opposed to as the internet was growing in the 90s and today even, you're still going after that model. How do you find that sets you apart from the competition?
Well, we try and stand out by the way we conduct ourselves. So we hire happy people first and foremost across any of our brands. So our parent company, O2E Brands, stands for Ordinary to Exceptional. We're taking the ordinary business of junk removal and making it exceptional through customer experience. We're doing the same with painting and gutters and moving. Our secret to success, if there ever was a secret, is finding happy people. We hire happy people and they go out and work the magic with the customers. So our differentiator is really how we conduct ourselves. The on-time service, the upfront pricing, the professionalism. Moving is a tough business. Painting someone's home is a tough business, but it's our franchise owners and their teams of people that come in and make a very, very ordinary service exceptional through the type of people that they hire, train, and develop.
Yeah, and that's a super interesting hiring strategy. Not something that you would normally hear from someone like a business executive. I want somebody who's happy. And I'm surprised, but pleasantly surprised. And I think I remember seeing something. Did you drop out of high school? Is that correct?
I did, yeah. So I was one course short of graduation from high school. I then talked my way into college. My parents obviously weren't going to fund my college education. Wouldn't have been a good ROI investment for them. And so I talked my way into college and then had to fund my own way. And it was actually the funding for my education was the birth of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or what was at the time called the Rubbish Boys. I was in a McDonald's drive-thru. In front of me was a beat up old pickup truck with plywood side panels built up on the box. I looked at the truck and I went, there's my ticket. I'm going to go start hauling junk. Took my $1,000 I had in the bank, $700 on a beat up old truck, and got out there and started building this little company. And it funded my education, but it also inspired me to drop out for the second time out of college this time, because I was learning more about business, running a business, more than I was studying in school. And I remember sitting down with my father. He's a liver transplant surgeon. And I told him that I had good news for him. And he sat down and I said, I'm dropping out of school to do this full time. I'm learning way more about business by running one. And he didn't see it as good news and kind of questioned me. And years later, we've certainly settled our disagreements, and everything's all worked out.
Wow, what an incredible story. Just true grassroots. And also, too, to have a father who's a surgeon. And I got to imagine his expectations were probably pretty high. And so how did you handle, letting him know, like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to drop out?
Yeah, it was tough. I've got kids of my own. And I think that if one day they were to sit down and have the same conversation with me, how would I react? It's really, in the same way that I believe in hiring happy people, I want to raise happy kids. And so all I really want for my children is for them to find their passion, to be happy. And they're going to have to make some mistakes in order to figure out what that happiness path is for them. And I think that my dad, in hindsight, he should have just been okay with the fact that I made the decision and trusted that I will learn from it. I could go back to school if I wanted. I could start another business if I wanted. But this is how we learn. In fact, I've written a whole book about it. I took my 30 years of mistakes and I wrote a book called WTF, Willing to Fail. And it's the story of our journeys together, starting with my journey of building something. And if I didn't drop out of school, if I didn't drop out of college, I wouldn't have learned some valuable lessons that helped to get me and our businesses to a bigger, higher level, if you will.
Failure is a great teacher at times. And I'm just curious I don't know if it's changed over the years, but how did you view failure during your startup and when you were growing your business?
Yeah, I think failure hurt more in the earlier days, but now I see it that failure's temporary. Now, let's be clear, success is also temporary, and you've got to ride the ups and downs like you do a roller coaster. But it's the learning, it's the moments of those different challenges and the excitement and the fun we have together going through those mistakes together. I think that by surrounding myself with phenomenal people, as franchise owners, as people in our head office, The Junction, we make mistakes, we learn together. And the key for me is together. It's a very social business. We support each other. And so how I feel about failure today is we celebrate it. It was harder to celebrate failures in the early days because you really felt like you were making a mistake and it hurt. But really, it's a stepping stone, if you will. Each failure is a stepping stone through the journey of life. And if you keep learning, you keep climbing stairs and you keep getting bigger and better and having more fun. So failure is a part of the deal. I have yet to meet an entrepreneur or someone who's been extremely successful in life who doesn't share that same belief at the highest level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of mentioned it in a little teaser in the intro, but you had grown 1-800-GOT-JUNK to $100 million in revenue, and all of a sudden you start losing money and you're about to go bankrupt. What was going on there, and how did you turn it all around?
Yeah, so the financial meltdown, 2007, 2008 would have been part of the equation, but by no means the biggest part of the equation. I had put the wrong leader in charge of my company. We just did not see eye to eye in terms of vision. Now, we worked well together. We had fun together, but it just wasn't perfect. It wasn't the match that it needed to be. And I think this person didn't believe in entrepreneurism and me as an entrepreneur in the way that they needed to. And so the visions got a little further apart day in, day out. And 14 months into the business, I had to make the tough decision, and very tough decision, because no one else in the business believed it was the right one. But I got that person out. And it was tough, hit with a constructive dismissal lawsuit. We were down $40 million in revenue. We were, bleeding. We had to let go of 52 people that year. We had all sorts of problems and challenges. And it was really at that point that I thought, okay, I've made the biggest mistake of my life in getting rid of this person, or even having brought them on to begin with. But I didn't know if we could save the company, and hunkered down. And over the next couple of years, really worked incredibly hard to rebuild the team, to find the right people, and to get the business to a healthier place. Now, our franchise partners today would tell you that, it's great. Brian did make the right decision, and thank goodness he did, even though we didn't believe it to be the right decision at the time. And I think that's the tough challenge that a leader has, especially as his or her business gets bigger, is the bigger it gets, the harder it is to make some of the tougher decisions because of the collateral damage, the consequences of your actions, and it can get pretty scary. But if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to love that challenge, and you got to be up for it and make those decisions. The tough decision, the hard decisions are often not, the right decision, I should say, are often not the easy decisions, and that's a leader's responsibility, and you got to step up.
Yeah, wow. Just to be the only one, I have everybody looking at you and also thinking that you're wrong. To have the kind of internal focus to stay the course and be confident in your decision takes a lot of courage, definitely. What other types of, in your experience, what other types of qualities do great leaders really express? Like, how have you been able to lead this company and grow it so much?
Yeah, I think great leaders, and I've certainly got some things I'm good at, and I'm certainly still learning and making lots of mistakes. So when I describe a great leader here, by no means am I trying to describe myself. I have a hard time doing that. But, I would say that great leaders listen more than they speak. That as I've built and grown the company, it's been important to trust others to do the job that needs to be done, and that they can do it better, if you will let them, than the owner of the company ever could. It's finding great people who are rallied around the vision, who see what you see, and letting them do their job. Let them make some mistakes, because that's how they will also learn, and that's how you'll build and grow as a team. I think a great leader is someone who puts the team ahead of everyone else and understands that you can't be selfish as a leader and make it all about you. You have to really think about your team. I think that when I share the philosophy of we're building something bigger and better together, that's the way I operate. We enjoy building things together, but I think it's also smart business for people that can do it. Is you don't see companies out there like Google or Facebook or Amazon being built single-handedly by one person. You can't scale something without having an incredible team along with you. And so the old school model of a leader saying, hey, I'm at the top, what I say goes, that just doesn't work anymore. I don't even know if it ever did. I think we're getting smarter and realizing people need to truly work together. They need to be given the rope, and you need to stand up for your team and go to battle for them. I've always said that if you take care of your people, your employees, if you take care of your people, they will take care of the customer. You often hear people say, oh, the customer's always right, the customer's king. I don't buy that. I think your people are the most important part of the equation. And if you take care of them, they will take care of the customers. And the customers will take care of the brand and the company you're building in terms of growth and opportunity. So that's our focus. And I think that focus describes the leadership we aspire to be.
Yeah, I love that leadership philosophy, really being a team leader and bringing everybody up and into it, not that tyrant leader. And I think sometimes people, as entrepreneurs, get caught up in maybe a vision, and maybe that's a mistake they make early on. But definitely being a team leader helps to grow faster. But it also brings up, I'm just curious too, is maybe your experience through what you've done, but also maybe seeing other businesses. What do you think are some common mistakes young entrepreneurs make when they're starting their businesses?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is not accepting that fear is a gift. They're hard on themselves. They give up. They can't take any more failure. Failure is a part of it's one of the biggest ingredients you need in success. So I think one of the mistakes is how they look at failure, how they look at rejection. If I think of us getting press as an example, one of the ways that we have grown the brand or any of our brands over the years is by calling on the press and telling our story. Every single time we pick up the phone and we call a news outlet and say, oh, I got an awesome story idea for you. When they say no, we take that no, we take the rejection, but we use it to our advantage. And we say, well, what's missing in the story? What would make it a great story? What did you like about it? Or what could you like about it? And we ask questions and we listen, as a good leader should do, to then on the next phone call with the next media outlet, use that information you had to help perfect your pitch and be better out of the gates.
Yeah, that's a really great strategy. Actually, is reaching out to the press yourself to tell them your story. But I also love learning from failure. That's, to me, failure is a learning process. When I made that shift, everything started to change. It was like, oh, I failed. Okay, good. I learned what not to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the one thing I would want to inspire from our book is that people read our story and truly they go, wow, you know what? I understand now why Brian and his team feel that failure is a gift, because it really seems like it's been a gift for them. And how could it be a gift for me? It's one thing to say it, and I think anyone who's lived failures but understood that they're in a much better place in the world because of those failures, when you get that's power. I mean, that's hugely powerful for people to then really take their lives to a much bigger scale and have a bigger impact on others when they understand that not only does everything happen for a reason, but if you can take that reason, that failure, that mistake, and use it to be the power that fuels your next stage in life, it's pretty amazing.
With that mindset shift, when you're sitting there and you're sulking and you're maybe a little depressed and you're upset or angry, how do you shift it to say, okay, you know what, failure, this sucks, but how do you get motivated to keep on going in the process?
Yeah, so I take out a piece of paper and I ask myself one question whenever I'm in a failure, and sometimes it takes time to discover that you're really failing, but whenever I take out that piece of paper, I say, what is the one potentially great thing that can happen from this seemingly tough situation? And if you open your heart to it and open your mind and just think it through, you start to go, okay, hold on, this is bad, this sucks, but something good could happen. What could that be? And you start to brainstorm, and you might write down one thing, you might write down two, but if the list starts to grow, you really realize, wow, I can see opportunity. It starts to shift your thinking to be more open to this being something that happened so that I can get to a better place. And, has anyone listening to this ever met anybody who's never had hard times? Of course not. That's just not life. That's not reality. And when we succeed without tasting defeat, without having any challenges and obstacles, it can feel like a hollow victory and it can feel unearned. But if you can taste success with all the challenges you've had to overcome, at the end, you feel like you've earned it and you feel that much more proud about the journey you've gone on.
100%. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it.
Of course.
And with O2E brands, I think you've grown it to over 250 franchises. You really exploded in growth. I was wondering, what kind of strategies did you guys use to scale it so quickly?
Yeah, define quickly, right? Yeah, it's been 30 years. It took 8 years to get to 1 million. Now we do 1 million today, but that's 30 years after the business has been in operation. I don't think there's been anything quick about what we've done. We had our moments where we worked hard to get free press and built up some momentum so that we got on the Oprah Winfrey Show and 35 million viewers and phones start lighting up. There's little moments like that along the way where we can tell some stories about some of the milestones. But it was all hard work to get up to that point. I don't think I could have ever franchised this business hadn't I taken almost 10 years to create the model. Someone who buys a franchise. So again, someone goes, oh, wow, shack shine, windows, gutters, power washing, boring industry, but a chance to be a part of O2E because they are going to exceptionalize that space. And I want to be a part of that. They want to know that we've proven out a recipe. Someone doesn't buy a recipe book to take a chance. They buy a recipe book to, bake a cake that they know is going to be perfection if they follow all the steps. So same thing with a business. We're looking for people that want to build something with us who can come and look at our proven recipes and off we go together. So it really is, I feel grateful for all of the time we've had in building out these systems. And it was it has been a slow but steady build. It wins the race type of build. This isn't something that I believe has been quickly by any means. And I think that's one of the tough things about being an entrepreneur is you have to endure the tenacity and take the time to build these things because we all want quicker results, and especially as you said in the Instagram sort of square success world, we look at things and go, oh, look at how awesome that person's business is and that person's life is, and it didn't happen overnight, if that's even a reflection of the success that they're actually having.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a snapshot, right? It's not even true half the time. It is deceiving, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of people see these, successful entrepreneurs, and even I made the mistake. How quickly did you grow? How did you do that? But truthfully, you're right. It's over 10 years, 20 years, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people forget is the power of consistent action daily. Speaking of just daily consistent actions, what's some things that you do, every day, maybe a morning routine or evening routine that, help you stay focused and consistently growing?
Yeah. So one of the things I try to do, and so, I'm consistently inconsistent if I'm being real. I can be very good for a few weeks on following a pattern. And then because I'm ADD and I'm entrepreneurial, I get off that pattern and I try a new pattern. So I'm incredibly consistent when I work at it. And one of the things that I love to do is have a bit of a power hour in the morning. I get up at 5:55. And the first thing I do is I write down my daily intention. I put it in a note in my iPhone. What's the one thing that I'm going to make sure happens today to drive me forward in a healthy, happy way? It could be, focus on my diet. It could be focus on my energy and my enthusiasm with others. It could be a key task that's a roadblock that I got to figure out. But I set that intention, and then I spend the first hour instead of checking social media and instead of checking email, I try and figure out, what is the one thing today I'm going to do to focus on myself through most of that hour. So it could be an exercise related thing and get on the spin bike for 20 minutes. It could be do a bunch of push-ups and that sort of thing. It could be a combination. It could be where I'm focusing on languages. A near daily focus for me is spending some time focused on the language I'm trying to learn at the moment.
What are you trying to learn?
Well, French, I'm strong in. Italian is one of my new ones I'm going to start picking up again because we're going to be taking a trip to Italy as a family this summer, a little bit of Spanish. And so I love languages because, again, it's like creating something. It's creating a new connection with a group of people that I might not have been able to be connected to. So my daily routines, I'm not a big reader. I'm one who really likes to do things, and I find that I have a hard time just sitting down and focusing my brain on words on a page. But languages, exercise, setting goals and visions for the future, and that would be sort of my daily makeup.
Oh man, that is definitely excellent, and it's I really like what you said about setting an intention for the day. I do that with I do create like a power action list. I'm really all about taking action. And so I just write down 1 to 3 things that I have to do. And I find that if I get one of those, or all 3 of them accomplished, I'm significantly further ahead towards my goals. So I like that one a lot, and just very similar. And with Unleash Success too, one of the things we do is we talk about the 80-20 rule, which, speaking of Italy, the Pareto principle. And the way I apply it is I think that 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. The key just is to know which actions should we take. So this has been an incredible conversation, lots of ups and downs, lots of learning and strategies that you've given us. So I'm just wondering, for everybody's listening, what would you say is one action that they should take that would significantly help them accomplish their goals as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so something that works for me, there's 2 things I'm going to throw out. One is a bigger sort of process that someone can work towards, and that's creating a painted picture, which I'll talk about for a second in a minute. The second one, and a very quick, easy one, is figure out how to prioritize your day and the things you do down to one thing. I think all too often we sit down in life and we take out a Post-it note or a big sheet of paper and we list down the 17 things we need to do today, and then we get 4 or 5 of them done. And I think, we then move things over to a different priority list for the next day, and it just becomes juggling the lists. To me, the way I work most effectively is I say, what is the biggest thing I can do today? And it doesn't have to be big in terms of effort. It could be a phone call that I've been afraid to make. It could be, sending a note to someone that really deserves a note. But what's the biggest thing I can do to move forward with my relationships, my growth movements that I'm trying to create, and pick that one thing. Once you've done that one big thing, then great, add a second thing. But I think we do to-do lists a little backwards in this day and age. So painted picture. Painted picture was me going to my parents' cabin, sitting down and making that 2-page, 1-page double-sided look to the future and figure out what the future could look like, not how to get there. I would say the one thing that entrepreneurs can do is figure out what is their vision. And just like sitting on the dock, find a inspirational place to go do this and sit down and say to yourself, okay, what could pure possibility look like 5 years down the road? Write down a specific date, and then start using very actionable language that you're committed to that says, like I did, we will be in top 30 metros in North America. We will be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And create that painted picture. Once it's written, keep it, reference it frequently, and make sure that you see it and believe it. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Don't say, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I have a second job. Don't worry, those things will fall in place if you really believe the vision as to where you're going, and you'll rally the right team to help you get there. But it's Alice in Wonderland, the quote, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. I think too many entrepreneurs, in fact, most entrepreneurs by far, don't really know where they're going. So how could you possibly figure out how to get there? And start by creating a vision. And if any of your listeners want to get a copy of our painted picture, they could go onto Instagram as an example and send me a DM and say, hey, could I please have your painted picture? And I'll fire you one back so you can see it and understand what that process looks like. And off you go to create your own. And I'll give you an article as well of how to create one.
Oh, Brian, that is awesome. Speaking of, how we can kind of connect with you online, what's your Instagram, or if you have a website you want us to go to?
Yeah, so O2E Brands, which is the letter O, number 2, E, so it stands for ordinary to exceptional, O2EBrands.com, or you can just, to find any of this stuff, social media, just put in Brian Scudamore into Google and you'll find different information there. But my Instagram, that seems to be my preferred social media outlet these days. It's just at Brian Scudamore, BrianScudamore, and look forward to connecting with people.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll include those links in the show notes so that anybody who's listening can always connect with you and reach out. Also, too, I'd love to get your painted picture just to see how someone else's look like. I did a visualization process years ago when I was looking to buy my house, and it was kind of my dream beach house. And the idea of it was, I was super, super specific. It's crazy. I don't always tell people this, but I actually said I want to be in Newport Beach and above 35th Street. I wanted to be on the beach, but the funny thing is that I ended up finding something a little bit off the beach, but I did it in 6 months. And I remember looking back at the goal going, wow, like it hits 6 of the 7 things. And it was my dream place that I absolutely love. And it was all started with a visualization exercise.
Yeah, no, I could share stories of the same. I mean, it really, so I don't want to one up your story by any means, but it truly is how the brain works. And it's called your reticular activating system. If you put it out there to the world and say, this is what I'm looking for, your brain knows what to pay attention to, and you make decisions accordingly. So, the magic behind your dream home, it's science, I'd say. And congrats on making it all happen.
Well, thanks. It's been a fun journey, and no need to one up me. You have a company that's doing well over $300 million with O2E Brands. So I think you're doing pretty well, man.
Awesome. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask is, what is your next level of success?
Yeah, I'm a really happy guy. I love what I do. I am surrounded by amazing people that we're having fun building something really special with. The measurable goal is $1 billion group of companies. So O2E Brands will be $1 billion in revenue. And I throw that out there, not because it's anything to do with the money, other than just a measurement of the size and scale and number of lives that we've impacted in what we're building. So this year we'll finish at 444 million is the current trend, which is exciting. And we're getting close to halfway there, but we got a long ways to go. Next level of success is just continuing to build it, but keeping an eye on the most important thing. And that's the people, how we take care of our people, the type of people we find, and controlling our future and our destiny, and making our visions happen.
That's incredible, Brian. I have no doubt, and I'm sure you have your painted picture for that $1 billion, and I'm sure you'll get there before we know it. So thank you so much for coming on Unleash Success.
A lot of fun, Corey. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that I have is please go subscribe, whether you're on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you leave us a 5-star rating and review, that absolutely helps us get our message out there. Each week, I'm going to continue to interview amazing people, and we're going to break down their tools and strategies to help get you real results. Feel free to visit the website, unleashsuccess.com, and subscribe to our newsletter so you get updates each week. And remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way you're going to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So take some action, subscribe to the podcast today, and get ready to unleash success in you.